You have tried all the protocols. You have done the research. You have taken the supplements. You have cleaned up your meals. You have pushed through the workouts, even when your body was begging you to stop. And something still feels off. Your energy is inconsistent. Your cycle doesn't make sense. Your sleep alone doesn't feel restorative. And somewhere underneath all of that doing, there's a quiet, exhausted part of you that is wondering if this is just how it is now. Let me tell you that it is not. But the answer is not another protocol. It is not adding more supplements. It is not doing more workouts. It is the thing that has to come before anything else. So if you have been here for parts 1 and 2 of this 3-part series, first of all, thank you. Today is part 3, and I'm excited to deliver this last one to you because it is more of an educational how-to episode. So we are taking everything that we've learned these last 2 episodes, tying it all together today, and you guys will leave here with actionable steps. Second, I want you to know that this episode is the one that everything has been building toward. We have talked about why your labs can look completely normal and yet your body can still feel completely off. We talked about the woman who says that she's fine, who's carrying everything, who's bracing from the moment her feet hit the floor in the morning until the moment she collapses at night. And we named it for what it is. It's not stress. It's just chronic bracing. In the second episode, we also talked about why trying harder actually makes your symptoms worse. We talked about the allostatic load, the pressure stack, and why your healing has probably started to feel like another thing that you're performing instead of something that you're actually receiving. And we talked about what supportive structure looks like instead, what the anchors are, small, repeatable, honest practices that tell your nervous system that it no longer has to brace. So if you've not listened to those 2 episodes, then please go back and do so. You don't have to do it before this one, but they are going to make this one land a lot deeper if you do. Because like I said, today in part 3, we are bringing all of this back home. So I am Lindsay Alexis if we have not met yet. And today we are going to talk about what regulation actually means. This whole series has been titled Regulation First with their subtitles, and we are going to discuss this in a way that is not this fluffy wellness buzzword, but in a way that is real, it is practical, this is what is happening in your body kind of way. We are building out a simple daily framework you can actually use. We are going to talk about how to know that it's actually working, because a lot of women get here to this point and they're still not sure if what they're doing is actually doing anything. And we're going to talk about when it's time to add in deeper support and personalization, which is a question I also get fairly constantly. The metaphor for today, I think, is a really good one. And I want you to hold it with you as you listen to this entire episode. So your nervous system is like the soil, and your hormones are the garden. You can plant the most beautiful seeds, the perfect seeds. You can water them, you can fertilize them, you could give them the right amount of sun. But if the soil is depleted, the soil is too dry or cracked or compacted from years of not being tended to, then nothing is going to grow the way it's supposed to. Or it might grow, but it's going to be fragile. It's going to wilt in the sun, and it just will not hold out for very long. That is what's happening for so many women who are doing all the things and still not seeing the results. You guys are working so hard to get your bodies right, but the soil has to come first. So let's get into it. I want to start with what regulation actually means, because I think that this is a word that gets used a lot in the wellness space. And when things like that become like buzzwords, it loses a lot of its meaning. Okay, there's a lot of words that I myself have transitioned into not using because they just get used so much and they get skewed. So nervous system regulation is something that you hear everywhere. And somewhere along the way, it became a term that sounds, quite honestly, a little vague. It's a little soft, and maybe it could be a little too spiritual for the science-forward women who just want real answers. So I'm going to break it down in a way that is real. Your nervous system is not a metaphor. It is an actual physical system. It is the network of nerves that runs from your brain down your spinal cord, all the way to the tips of your fingers, all the way down to the tips of your toes. And it is essentially your body's communication highway. Within that system, you have two branches that matter most for this conversation. You have your sympathetic nervous system, that is your fight or flight or freeze response. It mobilizes resources. Okay, so it's going to speed up your heart rate, it's going to raise your cortisol, it's going to put your digestive system on pause, and it's going to move energy away from reproduction and repair and toward survival. This is your accelerator. Basically, think of it as the fire alarm. Okay, it is the fire truck with the fire department in it coming to the rescue. That's what your sympathetic nervous system is triggered to do. It is the reaction. Your parasympathetic nervous system, this is your rest and digest response. So this is where things slow down. This is where your cortisol actually drops. There's a hormone that triggers it. This also activates digestion. It supports your sleep. It supports hormone production, and it supports repair. This is your brake, as in a car has a brake, not B-R-E-A-K, but B-R-A-K-E, a brake. This is your brake. So you have a gas pedal and you have a brake pedal. Okay, gas pedal, sympathetic nervous system, brake pedal, parasympathetic nervous system. This is the one that puts the fires out. This is essentially the water, I guess, that comes from the fire truck, right? Or this is just your everyday normal homeostasis type baseline. Okay, this is before the fire started. So in a healthy, regulated nervous system, you move between these two states fairly fluidly. Okay, you mobilize when you need to, you recover when the demand passes, and you just go about your day. You're flexible. Your body trusts that it is safe in this way when you are healthy and have a regulated nervous system. When you don't, when your nervous system is dysregulated, you get stuck on the gas pedal. You get stuck on the accelerator. Your cortisol stays elevated, your digestion stays suppressed, your sleep stays very shallow, your hormone production gets muted, your body allocates everything that it has towards one goal, and that is survival, safety, not healing, not thriving, surviving. And here is the thing that most people miss. You don't have to feel anxious or visibly be stressed for this to be happening. We talked about this in episode 1, that chronic bracing, right? You can be totally functional, totally high achieving, totally managing it all, and still be running your system in a state of low grade sympathetic dominance, meaning your brake pedal is barely working. Your nervous system has basically forgotten what it feels like to fully exhale. So let's do that while we're here. Close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving. Please don't if you're driving. But close your eyes. And I want you to take a nice deep inhale. Okay? 4 to 5 seconds of an inhale. Hold it at the top for about 2 to 4 seconds. And then I want you to exhale it out through your mouth with a sigh, or like you are pushing air through a straw, whatever feels comfortable for you. Let it out for 6 to 8 seconds, a little longer than what you did for the inhale. When you have done this, can you feel, can you experience, even in the slightest, how your shoulders relaxed, how you feel a little bit more in tune? That relaxation only took you one good breath. And I want you to remember this, because regulation doesn't have to be hard. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to tell you about a system that you can use every single day. So when I say regulation, what I actually mean is your nervous system returning to enough safety that your body can move between those two states fluidly again. Not permanently calm, not bypassing real life, flexible, resilient, able to be challenged, but able to recover. That's it. That's what we're building toward. And here is what shifts when that happens. Your digestion will improve. So if you have IBS or GERD or constipation, things like that, that's going to improve, because your body's no longer pulling resources away from it. We talk about the microbiome of the gut. Well, if your nervous system's dysregulated, more than likely, so is that. And it doesn't matter how many things you do to heal your gut. If your nervous system keeps bypassing that healing towards survival and not thriving, nothing you do is going to be working. Your sleep will deepen because your nervous system isn't standing on watch all night. Your hormones will begin to rebalance because your body no longer needs to suppress progesterone. It no longer needs to tank estrogen or run cortisol as its primary operating fuel. From this, your cycles become more predictable. If you're having infertility issues, there's a good chance that you will become fertile. Your mood will become more stable. Your cravings become more manageable because your body actually starts to trust itself again. It's going to trust that it has what it needs. Regulation is not a luxury. It is a biological prerequisite for everything else you're trying to do. That soil we talked about has to be ready. You cannot force the soil to be ready. You have to tend to it. So I want you to take out your journals, if you haven't already, and I want you to answer this reflection question. Where in your day do you notice your body is holding on instead of letting go? Not the obvious moments. I'm talking about the small ones. the tight grip on the steering wheel, the aggression while you're washing dishes or wiping the surface of the counter. Those moments. The breath that you aren't taking, the meal that you're slamming because you're short on time, or maybe you skipped it completely. Notice those and write those down. So, in episode 2, I introduced you to anchors. The idea that you don't need 20 new protocols. You just need 2 or 3 small practices that are woven into your day that consistently signal to your nervous system, I am safe enough to soften. And today, I want to take that a little bit further. I want to give you a full framework, morning, midday, evening, and a thread that runs through all 3 that actually makes it work. And this thread is called consistency, not perfection. We are no longer performing wellness. We are no longer making it be perfect. I've said it before and I will say it again. This is not about getting it right. I want you to leave that perfectionism at the door. Perfectionism is a sympathetic nervous system pattern. It has been known to be a result of trauma from your childhood, okay? It is your nervous system bracing for the possibility of failure long before it even has a chance to arrive, let alone if it will arrive. So if you catch yourself reading this framework and immediately thinking about all the ways that you're not going to be able to do it because it's not going to get done perfectly, it's not going to check all the boxes, I want you to notice that. That is the work. So the framework is simple by design because complexity equals pressure, pressure equals load, and more load is the last thing your nervous system needs right now. Okay, so before we begin, I want you guys to know that if this is resonating, you have 2 ways to work with me. Actually, you have more than 2 ways, but you have 2 main ways to work with me through all of this personally, one-on-one. One of them is to book a feminine reconnection mapping session. You can go to my website and /reconnection-connection, and this will also be in the show notes. But you can go there. It is a 30-minute phone call that is absolutely free, where we walk through what's going on with you and I give you a next step that you can take. What is that very next step? For you specifically. No blanket statements, completely personalized. Or you can take it a step further, which I really encourage you guys to do, and you can get me for 90 days, 3 months, 12 weeks, one-on-one with personalized healthcare, okay? A personalized plan where we walk through how to go from survival and high functioning, burnout, overwhelm, to sovereignty, peace, calm, presence, power, feminine power, with the result being your health. Because when you can bring yourself home to yourself, when you can regulate your nervous system in such a way with environmental impacts, with nutritional impacts, right? Because all of these things, they all work together. It's not just we work on one and don't work on the other. We work on all of these things. When you combine all of these things together, the transformation that you get is exponential. Most importantly, it is sustainable. So you can choose which one. You can go to lindsayalexis.co/balanced with a D if you want to look into what the 90-day program looks like. From there, you would be booking pretty much the same call that I just told you about, the reconnection session. But I encourage you to do the 90-day one because you're going to get more out of it. So, with all of that said, let's begin with this framework. In the morning, most of us wake up and immediately start giving. We give our attention to our phones. We give our presence to our children or our partners or our to-do lists. We start producing, managing, planning well before we have even taken a single breath for ourselves. So I want you to come home before you go anywhere. Step number 1. What all of this is telling your nervous system first thing in the morning is there is demand, there is urgency. The world needs you to show up immediately. Brace. Your morning anchor is about reversing that just for a few minutes before any of that begins. So before you check your phone, before you speak to anybody, before your feet hit the floor and the day starts pulling at you, take 3 slow breaths. Not metaphorical breaths, physiological breaths. Slow, controlled, inhaling for 6, exhaling for 8. The longer the exhale than the inhale, it directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It is a signal. It is your body receiving the message, we are safe. You can also put your hand on your heart, put both your feet on the floor, and you can say loud or quietly, I am here, I am safe, that is enough. 5 minutes, maybe less, and that is your morning anchor. The other piece of your morning that matters from a regulation standpoint is going to be your blood sugar. So we talked about energy crashes in episode 1, that 10 a.m. or 3 p.m. dip. Blood sugar dysregulation is a direct stressor on your nervous system. When your blood sugar drops, it releases cortisol to bring it back up. More cortisol means more sympathetic activation. So if you are skipping breakfast or starting your day with caffeine and nothing else, you are literally sending your cortisol higher before you even begin anything. So eat something real in the morning. We talked about the PFF plate in previous episodes, the protein, fat, and fiber plate. Not because you have to earn your calories or follow a protocol, but because it is one of the most direct ways you can tell your nervous system there's nourishment, there is safety, I am being taken care of. All of that's in the morning, okay? You don't have to start out doing all 3 right away. Pick one. Try it for a couple of days. Get in that habit of doing it. Then stack another one. If you guys have downloaded my 7-day morning rituals, it is a freebie download. This is all in it. How to start your morning. It tells you how to habit stack 1 day at a time. Okay? And it goes in a lot more deeper than what I just did. And you can find that again on the website. It's going to be lindsayalexis.co/morning-rituals with an S. Again, it'll also be in the show notes. But that's a freebie download. that can help you guys get started with the morning. Midday, I want you guys to check in. Midday, your nervous system has been managing for several hours, right? Even on a relatively calm day, the accumulation of decisions and demands and small stressors, they end up adding up. So your allostatic load is building. So by midday, it's not about adding another task to your day. It's about pausing long enough to recalibrate before the afternoon pushes you further into that sympathetic mode. There are two parts to this. The first is a capacity check-in. We talked about this in episode 2. Take one breath in and ask yourself, what is my capacity right now? Not what it should be, not compared to yesterday, not what do I wish it was. What is it right now in this body, in this moment? And then ask, what does my body actually need in the next hour? Sometimes the answer is going to be food. Sometimes it's going to be water. Sometimes it might be getting outside for 5 minutes. Sometimes it's simply the permission to close a few tabs and slow down. Maybe if you're a projector like myself, it's to take a 30 to 45 minute nap or just to lie down and close your eyes. You don't have to actually sleep. But that check-in is not a weakness. It's your nervous system literacy. That is you learning to read your soil before you keep planting. Now, the second part of the midday thing is the real meal. So eat lunch, a real one. Sitting down when and if possible. Not at your desk while you're answering emails, not in your car. This is not about calories or counting macros. It's when you are eating and you're sitting down, when you slow down enough to actually chew your food. And I challenge you to actually taste the taste that your food has. When was the last time you actually slowed down enough to actually taste each one of the ingredients that is part of your meal? Really taste it. I bet it's been a while. But when you're doing this, you are triggering your parasympathetic response. Your body knows the difference between a meal eaten in rest and a meal eaten in survival mode. Your digestion knows. Your cortisol knows. Eating steadily throughout the day is not a diet tip. It's a regulation practice. Okay. For the evening, I want you to actually tell your body that the day is done. This is the most important one. It is the one that most women skip. And here is what happens for a lot of us high achieving women in the evening. You don't transition out of the day. You run until you stop. You are answering emails at 9 p.m. You're scrolling your phone at 10. You're wondering why you can't fall asleep by 11. And you're waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. wired and exhausted. Your nervous system does not have an automatic off switch. You have to create one. The evening anchor is about signaling the end of output. Like, this is it. I am done for the day. I'm not doing anything more. You are telling your body that you are done asking to produce things. The demands of the day are over. That it's allowed, your body is allowed to begin to shift into repair mode. So this can look like dimming your lights after 8 p.m. Your body responds to light cues. Again, this is part of the morning rituals that I have. I also have an evening routine blueprint or something along those lines. I forget the actual name of the title, but it's basically the same thing. So I have one for the morning and I have one for the evening. And when you sign up for the one in the morning, it prompts you if you want the one for the evening. Okay, so you can grab both. But in the evening, in the morning, your circadian rhythm is triggered by the natural light that you let in. Now, if it's a cloudy day or if you are in the middle of winter and you're not getting sun, turning the lights on also is a way to trigger your circadian rhythm that it is morning. So obviously, at night, you dimming the lights or having blackout curtains, whatever you need, is going to tell your body it's time for bed. The sun is setting. It's time to calm down. Okay? You leave your bright lights on at night and you just flip them off before you go to bed. Your body is still going to think it's daytime for a while. So by dimming them, turning them off earlier on, it's going to it's going to help increase the melatonin so that it decreases the cortisol. Okay? Your body will downshift like it's supposed to, and you will be able to drop into a deep restorative sleep. Another thing you can do in the evening to help with all of this is take a warm shower. The body will drop in temperature afterward, which actually initiates the sleep response. So that's another thing you do. It can also look like 5 minutes of gentle movement, not a full-blown workout, not something you're doing to earn anything, just a stretch, a slow walk. A few minutes of lying on the floor with your legs up the wall is a great way to regulate your nervous system. We talked about that before in a previous episode. With your vagus nerve, it resets it. Movement that discharges the day instead of adding to it is what we are looking for. Another thing that you can do is, again, put your hand on your chest and your belly, and you can exhale longer than you inhale. And you can tell your body out loud, we are done. You did enough today. You are safe to rest. Hearing yourself say these things, like I mentioned in the morning or in the afternoon or now at night, it's actually triggering your vagus nerve. Like you can hear yourself. You are your own self-soothing instrument. So it's not weird or abnormal to be saying these things out loud to yourself because it literally is self-soothing your own body. The tone of voice that you have is your tone of voice for that reason, because the cells respond to your tone of voice. Okay. If you are feeling resistance right now, maybe some emotion is coming up, maybe you cannot remember the last time someone told you that you did enough. Your body is listening, so let it hear it. Now, here's the piece that makes this whole framework actually work. None of this will do anything if you do it once and abandon it when life gets hard. Regulation is built through repetition. Your nervous system learns through repeated experience. Every time you come back to your morning breath, every time you pause midday, every time you create an evening downshift, you are writing a new message in your body. You are safe. You can rest. You're allowed to be here without bracing. That message takes time. It takes patience. And it asks you to value consistency over intensity, which is exactly the opposite of what most of us are taught about healing. Another good hack for this is to pair it with a cue or a habit you already do. For example, at night when you go to brush your teeth, go ahead and dim the lights. You're pairing those two habits together and you're more likely to do it because now you're just habit stacking. Okay. All of this to say, this is how the soil changes. It's not through force, it's through steady, patient tending. Okay. So, back to what I mentioned earlier, how do we know that this is actually working? It is a question that I hear constantly. How do I know if what I'm doing is actually doing something? Because when you have been feeling off for a very long time, it can be hard to track progress. And when you have been in high achieving mode, you're used to these measurable outcomes. You're used to results that you can see in a short period of time. But regulation doesn't always show up as this dramatic shift. It shows up in these very small moments first. So here's what to look for. One of them is going to be that your energy becomes steadier. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I have so much energy like 3 days in, right? It's not even going to be consistent every single day. I'm being honest with you. But over time, you will start to notice that the crashes are less severe or that they happen less often. They might go from happening 4 times a week to 2 times a week. Okay? You might also notice that you don't need the caffeine or the sugar or the carbs in the afternoon. You might wake up and feel more like refreshed, right? More ready to tackle the day, more ready, like grounded, I guess. And less like someone who just survived something, right? Less anxious, less jittery, less, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things today. Steadiness, not perfection. That is the signal. Another thing you might notice is that your PMS will soften. So for many women, PMS is one of the earliest and clearest indicators of nervous system dysregulation. When your cortisol levels are chronically high, it can suppress progesterone in the second half of your cycle, which is what ultimately contributes to like the irritability, the bloating, the mood swings, the cramping, all those things. So when your nervous system starts to regulate, progesterone has more room to do its job. And you may notice in your luteal phase that it feels less like bracing for impact and more like just a natural wind down. Again, not going to happen overnight, but it is one of the most reliable green flags that you can experience. Another one is that you stop crashing. So the energy dips don't disappear entirely, they just soften. You start to notice you can navigate a difficult conversation or a stressful afternoon without completely like bottoming out after. Your recovery time will shorten, and that is regulation in action. Your body is beginning to trust that it can mobilize and then return to safety. The brake starts working again. Again, slowly, over time, it will get there. The last one is a really cool one that I like. Your intuition gets really clearer. It's harder to quantify this, but it is one of the most real as a female. When your nervous system is in survival mode, your body is using all of its resources on threat detection, on how to continue to be safe, right? There's not a lot that is left over for the subtle signals, right? Those gut feelings, those divine downloads, those intuitive, directions that we get naturally, again, as women. They're the ones that tell you what you actually want, what actually feels true, what your body is genuinely asking for. So as you regulate, those signals start coming back online, and you start to notice that you just know things, that you trust yourself a little more, and that noise gets quieter, and what's underneath starts to speak louder. And that is how you come back home to your authentic, sovereign self. This is part of what I mean by remembrance. This is not a new version of yourself. It is the one who has always been there. And just underneath all of this performance and masculine energy that we carry, she has been there underneath all of this managing and bracing. She just starts to come through when your nervous system can actually drop down and regulate itself. One last thing is that your sleep will also deepen. I know I mentioned this already, but it's not going to happen all at once. But the night of you wake, like in the middle of the night when you wake up, that's going to become less frequent. And if by chance you do wake up, you're going to be able to go back to sleep a heck of a lot easier. And you start to actually feel rested when you wake up. Your circadian rhythm reasserts itself. And this is one of the clearest feedback mechanisms. Your sleep tells you the truth about your nervous system state every single night. So one more thing I want to say here again is that progress, it's not linear. There's going to be weeks where life asks more of you and your nervous system is going to respond. You're going to have harder nights. You're going to have louder PMS. You're going to have cravings, but that's not failure. It's just your body communicating. And now you have the language to understand what it is saying. So another journal prompt I want you guys to put in your journals right now is, what is one shift, no matter how small, that you have noticed in your body the last few weeks after practicing all of this? Okay, this is this journal prompt after you have practiced this for a few weeks. Don't dismiss it because it feels too small. Those small moments, they add up and they count. Small moments count. It's where regulation begins. So, zooming out a couple weeks after doing this, the question I often get once you guys start doing this work is, okay, Lindsay, I am doing these anchor points. I am doing the morning rituals. I am sleeping better. My PMS is softer. When does all of this hormone stuff start coming in? When do I need to focus on functional testing or supplements, or how do I cycle sync better? When can I start adding in these other things? And the honest answer that I can give you guys is it's whenever your nervous system has enough safety to actually receive those things. Because again, if we add more pressure, we're adding more load. Okay, that allostatic load that we talked about in episode 2, your body is not in the physiological state to absorb, process, or benefit from most of what you are adding to it when you're in that state. So you can take the right supplements and they go nowhere. You can eat the right foods and your body doesn't use it efficiently. You can follow the right protocol and your hormones are just not going to respond because your nervous system is too busy prioritizing survival. So it's not about waiting forever. It's about sequencing. We need to make sure that you get your soil full of nutrients and well tended to first. Then we can add the seeds and grow the garden, and out come beautiful plants and flowers, okay? You are ready for that next level when a few things are true. When your sleep is more restorative, not perfect, just more restorative. When your energy is steadier across the week, not every day, just in general. Your cravings are more manageable and less driven by desperation. I'm not saying your cravings are 100% gone. You just recognize them, you move with them. You feel some spaciousness in your body that wasn't there before, even just a little. When those four things are present, then your nervous system is beginning to come out of survival mode. That's when you can get the functional support. It could be testing, it could be nutrients, like nutritional meal planning and stuff like that. It could be supplementation, cycle syncing, somatic deepening, whatever you do, right? It'll land at that point because that is when your body has the capacity to receive. I also want to add here that deeper support is going to look different for every woman. Your stress pattern is not her stress pattern. Your cycle status is not hers. Your history, your symptoms, your real life capacity, those require personalized strategy, not a blanket protocol from someone who knows nothing about you and your body. Don't go back on the gravy train. That is what I see most often in this space. You guys are already exhausted. You're already carrying too much. You're taking on a one-size protocol that does not match where you actually are. And then you're feeling like they failed or you failed when your body just doesn't respond to it, okay? You didn't fail. I promise you, you did not fail if that is you. The protocol itself failed you because it was never designed for your soil, okay? This is the difference between information and integration. You can know all the things, and if none of it matches the actual terrain of your body, your nervous system, your life, it will stay in your head and it'll never land. I can grow something down here in South Carolina. Let's take palm trees, for example. If I go to New York, can I grow palm trees in New York? Probably not. I don't know, but probably not, right? That's the point. We're both in North America, but the terrain is different. So what I do here, I cannot do there. Same thing with your body. Now, when you are ready for that deeper layer, that is where personalization, game changer, changes everything. So we have covered a lot in this 3-part series. You can go back and listen to the replays, catch the videos on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify or Apple, whichever one you use. It's also on Pandora, guys. I don't know if you knew that, but the podcast is also on Pandora if that is your audio player of choice. I don't know how you'd say that. But it's also on iHeartRadio. Like, it's across a bunch of different platforms. So you don't have to stick with Spotify. You don't have to stick with Apple Podcasts if that's not your jam. Anyways, so we covered a lot, right? And I want it to land clearly for you. Again, your nervous system is the soil. It's not a problem to fix. It's not a weakness. It's not evidence of anything that something is wrong with you or anything like that. It's just the soil, just the foundation. It's the thing that everything else grows from. So you have probably spent years trying to heal through the garden with more seeds or better seeds or different fertilizer, a new technique that you read about or whatever's trending, and your garden has stayed struggling because no one told you that you needed to tend the soil first. That is what Regulation First, this whole series is all about, is building the foundation that makes everything else work, not as another protocol to perform, but as a simple return to yourself. Because you are not failing. You have never been failing. Your body has been responding. It's been protecting you. It's been doing its job. It's been bracing for you. It's been carrying you through. And now is asking you quietly, steadily, through every crash and every sleepless night and every moment you said, I'm fine, when you were not. It is asking you to come home, not push harder, to come home. Here's what I want you to take away from this series. Regulation is practical. It's physiological. It is the movement between mobilization and recovery that your body was just designed for. It's not fluffy. It is simply science and soul, and they're meeting in the same place. Your daily framework is simple. For the morning, come home before you go anywhere. In the midday, check your capacity and eat a real meal. In the evening, tell your body the day is done. Consistency over intensity every time. And you'll know it's working when your energy steadies, your PMS softens, your crashes become less severe, your sleep deepens, and your intuition begins to come back online. Those are the signs, so watch for them. And when your nervous system has enough safety, that's when you can seek deeper support. You do functional testing, personalized nutrition, somatic work, cycle-syncing. All of that will actually land, but you have to do the soil first and the seeds second. Again, it is not about more discipline. It's not another checklist. It is simply about remembrance. You knew how to be in your body before the world taught you to override it. You are finding your way back. So if this series landed for you and you are ready to stop guessing and start building something that's actually designed for your body, then I would love to walk that path with you. Like I mentioned earlier, I have Embody Her, which is my 90-day program for the woman who is done with performing her healing and ready to actually receive it. We blend nervous system regulation, somatic practices. We blend cycle syncing and personalized functional hormone support inside one method. It's called the balance method. I created it. It didn't come from anything. It's not a rigid protocol. It is a living, breathing framework that adapts to your specific body, your stress pattern, your lifestyle, your capacity. So if you want energy that is steady, and you want cycles that make sense, and you want a nervous system that finally exhales, then go to my website, lindsayalexis.co/balanced with a D, and everything is there. And when you're ready, you can book your feminine reconnection mapping session. Again, it's a 30-minute call. We're going to map out what your body is asking for and what support would actually feel like. So I cannot wait to meet you there. Again, if this episode resonated, please subscribe. Leave a review and share it with a woman in your life who has been trying harder and still is not getting better. She needs to hear that she's not failing and her body is just responding. It is ready to be tended to. And I will see you guys on the next one.